What's going on, guys? Welcome back to GNC Outdoors, and today we are going to be recovering the topic of discussion that is shooting high FOC. Now, I did upload a video earlier this weekend talking about high FOC, and in that video I said some things I probably shouldn't have said, and it was very one-sided, so I decided to take it down, make a pros-cons list of shooting high FOC, and that's what we are going to be covering in this video. But before we get into that, you have to understand what archery is overall, and it's basically a big game of give and take. If you're going to give or add in one area of your setup, you have to be willing to sacrifice in others. So I want to make that very clear before we get into this pros and cons list. Okay, so now we're going to get into the pros and cons of shooting high FOC, and we're going to start off with the pros. So what happens when you shoot a higher FOC, or when you look down to it, heavier point weight? Overall, you get a heavier arrow, and a heavier arrow is good in several ways. But the main ones are it quiets down your bow so animals don't react as bad to the shot. You do get more penetration because you have more momentum going through your setup. You get less wind drag. And Dr. Ashby mentioned this on a podcast. He said that a heavy arrow with high FOC shoots better through brush. Personally, I'm not going to shoot that animal through brush. I don't think that's ethical. However, I don't hunt where you hunt, and I'm not going to tell you how to hunt. But if it does fit the mold for some hunters out there, it does give you more shot opportunities, so I did add it on to the pro side of this list. And something that, is to be mentioned but could go either way, does shooting high FOC make you more accurate? People will tell you all day that it does, but, it really depends on the archer when you really look at it, because the human puts so much, into a shot, and there's so many factors that affect the shot that this really depends on who's shooting the bow and how well they shoot the bow, whether or not it's going to make them more accurate or not in the long run. So it could make you more accurate. I don't really think there's any scientific evidence behind that, mainly because when a human is shooting a bow, they're not going to be perfect. And to be accurate, or more accurate, you have to be as close to perfect as you possibly can be. So just to be fair, I didn't add that onto the list, and now we're going to get into the con side. Alright, so now we're going to get into the cons sections of this pro-con list. So what are the cons to shooting high FOC? Well, from my research, it is crazy expensive to shoot high FOC. Not saying that there aren't cheaper alternatives, but if I was going to shoot a heavy arrow with high FOC, I would buy my stuff from one of these two companies. So starting off with Grizzly Stick, for 6 arrows, it's $130 for a 6-pack. They don't come fletched, they just come with a knock on the one end. Since you're shooting their arrows, you're probably going to shoot their field tips too. $10.99 for a 6-pack. And it doesn't matter which broadhead model you buy, you get a pack of 3, and those models are going to run you anywhere between $50, $90, and $100 for a 3-pack. And that basically means that for 3 arrows to hunt with and 3 arrows to practice with, it's going to cost you $240.97, and per arrow you're basically paying $40.16 for one arrow. Now for Valkyrie, you can buy their Rain arrows for $150. Now those arrows come knocked, fletched, and with the center pin system in them, I'm pretty sure, but they do not include the broadhead and the field tips. So if you're just going to buy the regular Jaeger broadhead, not the titanium version, it's going to run you $109.95 for a 3-pack. If you buy the titanium model, it's going to run you $124.95 for a 3-pack. And so what that basically means is if you're going to buy the regular broadhead with the field tip and the Rain arrow, it's going to run you somewhere between $284.90 with the regular broadhead, and that's going to run you out to $47.48 for one arrow. And with the Rain arrow, titanium broadhead, and the field tips, $299 for 6, and that's going to run you almost $50 an arrow at $49.98 for one arrow. Now, that's pretty expensive, considering that I could buy 6 of these arrows for the price of almost 1 Grizzly Stick, and for the price of almost 1 Rain arrow from Valkyrie Archery Products. So, what's another con against shooting high FOC? Well, their arrow spines aren't readily available. And what I mean by that is that after I did my research at my local Dick's Sporting Goods and my local archery shop, the stiffest spine that they carry is 200 or 250 spine. Now, if you're going to shoot high FOC, you're going to have to shoot a crazy stiff arrow, and most places are not going to carry 140 spined, 150 spined, 200 spined arrows. The stiffest they go is normally around 200 spine, at least in my research. Also, since you are shooting a heavier arrow, basically you're going to lose speed, and everybody knows that. Now, this is where it comes into play. Are you okay with losing speed by shooting a heavier arrow with higher FOC? In my opinion, and what I think, I'm not, because speed is relatively still important to me because I like to shoot further. So speed does play a factor in my yardage tape and in my sight gaps. And lastly, this is probably going to cause the most trouble in the comment section, there are ways around shooting high FOC. Now, given the constant that this arrow is considered a baseline, probably not with the wrap and the custom vanes on the back, but a 340 spined hunting arrow is consistent for most people out there that are going deer hunting this year. So if this is a baseline, how do you get the effects or the advantages shooting high FOC? Well, basically, you just shoot a heavier, better arrow. And what I mean by that is, if you want to upgrade this arrow to any other arrow out there on the market that is still a hunting arrow but is a high-performing hunting arrow, you would have to buy a smaller diameter shaft with more weight up front, lower profile vanes, and overall, you're just getting a heavier arrow. So without shooting crazy point weight with a really heavy arrow, you're still getting most of the advantages, and those advantages is that you have a heavier arrow will quiet down your bow. You'll also get more penetration compared to the baseline because you'll have more momentum. You'll get less wind drift compared to the control because you have more momentum. Guys, so before I conclude this video, I want to go over this list one more time just to make sure we're crystal clear of what I've said. So, everything on this list is factual. The only tidbit that I put in there that wasn't really factual is the accuracy part, because I'm still not a believer that just because you shoot a stiff arrow with a heavy FOC, that doesn't make you accurate. I think it depends on the archer and the person shooting the bow. But you can research all this stuff. You do get a heavier arrow if you increase your FOC, and a heavier arrow does tend to quiet down bows. You get more penetration and you shoot better in the wind. And Dr. Ashby did say that a heavy arrow with high FOC does tend to shoot through brush better. You can also look up these prices. Like you go on Grizzly 6 website and Valkyrie Archery website. Unless they're having a sale, all these prices are still going to be there. These arrow spines aren't commonly found. I have yet to find a 140 spined arrow that wasn't on one of these two websites. You do lose speed if you shoot a heavy arrow out of the same bow. And yes, there are ways you can go around having high FOC and still get some of the benefits. And basically, that's shooting a heavier arrow, smaller diameter shaft with more weight up front compared to what you're shooting at that point in time. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching this video all the way through. If you want to discuss something, go ahead and drop it in the comments below. I reply to all my comments. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching this video. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, guys, I will see you later.